Well, hello, welcome to Blue Garden Cottage. If you've not been here before, I'm Cindy, and it's also lovely to welcome along new subscribers too. I'm sorry I've been a bit of a stranger since last video. Have been extremely busy though. I'll show you in a minute. Right now you are looking at an incomplete Hobbies scroll saw, pedal powered, obviously missing its pedal and its table and the blades and some belts. So I found that on Facebook Marketplace at a reasonable price for the conditioners in, and I bought it for my husband for his birthday, which is not yet, but since I don't have anywhere I could hide it until then, I just had to give it to him. He certainly was so pleased. It was as if his birthday was on that day last week. So that was good. Now I shall think I'll try and find some parts for him for his birthday. That would be funny if he got that for his birthday, because it's a lovely little restoration project and another move closer to some off-grid power tools. Let's just hope his legs can manage the pedaling on that one. But it's a really cool little thing. It's something he's always wanted, and when I found it, even lacking all its part for the price I did, I grabbed it. So let's tell you what's been happening in the garden today. So that's a bit of our off-grid upcycling restoration bit for this week. But there's a little bit of stuff here that can't go in the compost, so that's got to go in the garden waste, unfortunately. But that's about all we produce in 6-7 months, so I'm not too worried about that. But you see that mess? We cut the hedge last night. Last night? What am I on about? We just did it this morning. Last night, honestly, that's how tired I am. I don't even know what I'm saying. The birds have obviously been feeding off the bird feeders, but today we cut the hedge, not the front, because I did that in the autumn. What we did do was cut the top, because it is, as you can tell, I mean, that is way high. And we saw, if you can see that side of the hedge, that brown patch, that has suddenly appeared, and we thought, what is wrong with that? Can't see a disease on it, but it looks like it's just, I mean, compared to this, it's completely bare. However, we think it's a combination of not enough sunlight and all the rain that we've been having. And I have spotted patches like that on all sorts of privet hedges around the estate and as I'm driving around. So it's been an incredibly wet autumn and winter so far, and I think that it's just washed all the nutrients out. So because this part of the garden is facing southeast, it is our most sunny space where we get our sun from. And with this hedge, I mean, it's got to be over 20 foot tall, and it is cutting out the light. And of course, with our apple trees and some of our other plants, we still need some sunlight. We didn't want to cut it too low because this being a slope, we wanted some privacy from the neighbours. But we thought we'd do it now before the birds get nesting. And of course, as you can see, that hedge is actually quite thin, because on the neighbour's side at the back, they have brutally cut it all the way back. All the living greenery is gone. So it's now a very sparse hedge. But the birds are still coming. They came back to feed. I doubt they'll nest in there anyway. There's just not enough protection from the wind. They're more likely to nest in the ivy and the eucalyptus tree at the back there. I also, because we had to move everything out of the way of the hedge, I moved and turned all the compost. So now I have 4 full bins of composting. That will go in the front garden, because obviously the wood store is going to be built onto the back of the shed there. And I don't think that there's enough heat and sunlight coming into those composters at the back to make it compost quickly. It's a bit cold. When I was turning it today, there was some good compost in the bottom, but it's very slow. Obviously it's been winter, but I think it's just not getting enough. It's just too secluded at the back there. Ideal for a wood store, but for compost I think it will do better in the front, because I need that space anyway. So anyway, the reason there's still a mound of branches over there to clip and shred, there was an equally big one over here before we put all the bins back, and We got halfway through all the shredding. This is almost as tall as I am, that mound. We got almost halfway through the shredding and the shredder packed up, completely broke. We took it apart, see if we could fix it, and unfortunately, after 20 years of faithful, intense service, it has finally given up the ghost, and it would cost way too much to replace motor, so there's no point. So we had to go and get a new one. I just spotted something. A toy, yeah. This dwarf comfrey that a friend gave me has just spread towards that, because that bin is overflowing. There's no overflow on that bin from the water yet, on the water butts, so the ground is a bit wet and we need to sort that as soon as possible. Other than that, I did get all done, tidied up, took out old veggies, took down the Achillea, I trimmed that down. Yeah, oh, and the fennel, I trimmed that down because there's new fennel all on the side of there. Buttons, come on girl. So yeah, I'm going to be getting on with a bit more. I've also done a little bit in the front. I'll show you that now too. There you go. It is now very bare looking. What I did was I tidied up and trimmed all the red hot pokers, because all the long decaying leaves at the bottom were rotting and it was making a perfect hiding space for slugs. And that's why last year our red hot pokers were absolutely demolished, because there's so much hiding space in there with all the decaying leaves. So now I've opened it up, the birds and other critters can get in there to eat the slugs, and there's no hiding space for them. I did trim down the hydrangea, not as much as I possibly could, because there's lots of new shoots at the bottom there. I wanted to keep some of the height, because when this is in full growth and greenery, it creates a lovely screen, a privacy screen. So I like that, and I've kept it up higher as well, because I want the back of it higher, because the house sparrows love coming into the hydrangea, and I had to unfortunately move them. Now we've got, what you see there is a bunch of honeysuckle vines that were all mingled in with the hydrangea. So I took it out around the side, unwove the whole thing, if that's even a word, and wound them together in a rope and put them on that frame, because they're starting to grow. The honeyberries are starting to grow, and since they're both of the Lonoceras, that honeysuckle should be able to help pollinate the honeyberries. So if I've got them closer, that'll make it a bit easier for the bees. That'll be lovely. Look at the rhubarb already. Isn't that looking lovely? Just a few more weeks and we shall be harvesting some rhubarb. Lovely. See, I've got a couple of dandelions. There's one flowering over there, so I'll pick that quick and let it flower again. I did prune the tree kale, because the main stem, which was a bit higher than the rose, was just up there. The weight of it was pulling the whole tree over. It is a tree kale, and the Dorbanton's one. So what I did was I pruned off the main stem, left lots of new ones to replace that one. It should keep going for a bit longer, and I had to saw it with a saw, because that is like proper wood. It is that hard. There is no composting of that stuff at all unless it goes through an industrial chipper. It is that much. That's why it's called, a lot of times they call it Jersey walking stick, because it's that hard. It's like wood. Anyway, so I tidied up the lavenders, pulled out the euphorbias that have crept underneath the neighbour's wall, underneath that wall from the neighbour's garden. The euphorbia has come through, so I pulled that out because that would just overrun everything. As you can see, the compost pile was down there when I started yesterday, and by the time I was finished, right the way up. So I shall cover that with more straw again and let it rot down. And then what else did I do? I also cut down the Achillea over there and the fennel, and things are tidied up a bit, but it looks very, very sparse and bare. So I'm looking forward to implementing some more of the plans and putting all of the plants in that I've got. I have ordered some more plants, and I'll tell you about them when they come, because I am so excited about them, although one will not be going out. That will stay indoors. Okay, so there you are. Let's catch up with the front. That arch is broken, so I've got to fix that. There's so much work left to do. So if I am a bit of a stranger over the next couple of weeks, that is why. I am extremely busy, so please excuse if I don't, like this week, post a video on the usual Monday or Tuesday when I like to do it at the beginning of the week. I've also been doing a bit of writing. I've got my synopsis and some thoughts written down for each chapter, so I've made a start on that and I can get stuck in now as well. I'll let you know how I'm getting on with that too in a month or two. Until then, my lovely people, I hope you have a lovely day, whatever it brings, and I shall speak to you again soon. Take care, and please don't forget, if you can, and if you haven't already done so, do like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and do comment if you like as well. Speak to you all again soon. Bye bye.